What's up guys, TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. I'm gonna do a response video today to a video labeled TheMainManSWE is wrong about Nina. So obviously you know where this is going. I've talked a lot about Nina lately. I've trolled quite a bit, but when I'm serious and I discuss my reasons, you know, for having the opinion I have. I'm doing a response to this because this guy actually put out a very well edited video, nice presentation. He has a very clear voice and he states his opinion very quickly, good pacing, you know, and he represents an opinion that's very contrary to mine. So I thought it could be interesting to listen to and you guys can make up your own opinion.
TheMainManSWE recently put out this video talking about Nina and why she's poorly designed in low and intermediate levels of play. Today, I wanted to talk about.
So I just want to stress here that I never said she's poorly designed in beginner and intermediate level of play. What I said was that she's very easy in those levels of play due to how spam friendly and hard to counter many of her quite abusable strings are. And I also said that at the highest level of play, like professional play, she's very difficult because all of that is easily countered, and then you're left with kind of weak tools, to be honest, albeit great pressure, but worse punishment for sure than a lot of characters. So that is what I said, so not unbalanced.
Why he's wrong about, like, everything, and why people that hold opinions like his with large followings are harmful to the fighting game community.
So I would be very careful labeling an opinion harmful to the community. I have an opinion that is quite different from a lot of players who play Tekken, but it's still just an opinion, you know, and I think everyone should be allowed to state their opinion.
Firstly, let's take a look at some of his key arguments in the clips.
You can't tell me that's not hard to counter. That puts, how hard is it to do those strings? Anyone can do them. How easy are they to counter? Very hard.
Okay, firstly, every character is like this in Tekken. If you don't know how to deal with the hell sweep mix-ups, or how to deal with Brian's wall pressure, or King's grabs, or Law's strings, you're gonna get those cheeks clapped. Yeah, sure, they're easy to do, but they're difficult to deal with when applied correctly. That's just the nature of fighting games and what makes an offensive tool good. If you don't like that kind of design, don't play fighting games.
Okay. Valid point when you look at it from a very basic perspective. I would say every character has cheese. Yeah, every character has cheese. I think you can say that. And where I said easy to do, hard to counter, every character has stuff like this, you say. But this is where I would say that some characters are cheesier than others. And I feel like that's something that makes the game richer, I would say. It adds color to the game, you know, not every character is the same. Just a personal experience of mine, if I may. I've been playing Kazuya for the majority of my life. Ever since I played Tekken 1 in '95, I've had an interest in the character. In the year 2000, I fell in love for real with the character, and since then, I've done my best to try and master Kazuya. Every single setup, every single detail, everything. I just want to take it in, become as great of a Kazuya player as can be. That's what I've wanted, you know, for the last 5 years. I've been very serious about it. And I'm not the best Kazuya player in the world, far from it, but I'm a pretty damn good Kazuya player. And in comes Noctis. I see Noctis and I immediately spot something with this character where I'm like, this is a hard character to counter. Very hard, and he's very easy to use. You don't have to think at all. The tools are so great, but they are so hard to counter. They put such a great responsibility on your opponent to know exactly what he's doing. If he doesn't know exactly what he's doing, he gets destroyed. And I was like, this is going to be free wins in beginner, intermediate, and to be honest, even in high level play, this is going to be kind of free. But he's not going to be a good character in pro level. I can see that on his frames and the tools. And of course, was I correct? 5 days later, after 3 sessions, from not having tried the character, I played him 3 times. And then he has a higher rank than my Kazuya, who I've spent many fucking years with. So don't come here and tell me that every character is the same in this game, because it's not. Another example is my Swedish streamer Forsen, who first time he plays Tekken goes with Katarina, and immediately within 3 days he's at Juggernaut rank. And I have a lot of students who play, for example, Mishimas or Brian, who struggle forever to get that rank. It's very, very difficult for them. And when they see Forsen with Katarina get that immediately, because he can go high risk, high reward, but when people don't know how to counter perfectly, it becomes very difficult. Well, I mean, not even counter perfectly, just to counter a little bit can be hard versus Katarina, and she's so easy to use. So there are definitely differences in this game, and honestly, I haven't even gotten into this. So whenever people like you say that every character has stuff like that's easy to do and hard to counter, there are degrees in hell, sir. There just are. And the fact that people point stuff like this out, you see me as complaining, but honestly, if I wasn't very vocal about this stuff and many others, you know, you probably still would have a move such as this in Tekken 7. Well, I mean, the aura is pretty damn close to this. It's such a dumb move. Again, Noctis aura back 1-4 in this game, it didn't ruin the game at pro level play. Pro players knew how to counter that perfectly well, but at any other level of play, was it a big problem? Yes. But, again, it's fair, yeah, it's easy to do this in practice mode.
Secondly, he starts talking about how it's easier to deal with these kinds of strings in practice mode drills than it is in a real match. Well, like, no shit. That's not exclusive to Nina in any way, like, at all. You have to do that for every character in the game. Like, bro, that's not even exclusive to Tekken. How many times were you in school and the teacher's like, yo, here, practice test for, like, math or whatever, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, this is soft, I could do this. And then you go into the real test and you're like, ah, fuck, I'm so nervous. So you forget a bunch of shit and you lose marks. And even if you pass, you feel like a total moron because you got like murked or whatever. Fucking, I hate linear algebra so much. Fucking stupid. As a Kazuya player, MainMan should know how difficult it is to sidestep an electric online versus practice mode, especially against a good Mishima player who practices wave dashing into the fucking bathroom every morning to brush their teeth. And I don't mean to flame MainMan, but this clip right here is fucking dumb.
Okay, so before we go to the statement apparently I made that's fucking dumb, I just wanna elaborate on what he remarked on previously here. What I was saying was that, yeah, it's one thing. In that counter video, the player showed like, oh, look, in practice mode, how I'm countering this stuff. And to me, that's very different to do in a live match, maybe even an online match. And my overall point was that Nina's strings are very, very difficult to counter in that suddenly you have to do precise side steps, precise low parries, and that's something that a kind of defense you see in high level play. And for sure, Kazuya can be really cheesy. I even say this in my Kazuya video, how to counter him. And as I've said many times, if that 50-50 is so strong in beginner and intermediate because a lot of people, to be honest, doesn't see Tekken as a 3D game at those player levels. They don't sidestep Kazuya towards the left. And if you don't do that, his 50-50 is kind of brain dead. But what you have to realize is that Nina players and many other players, they quickly figured out in beginner and intermediate how to counter the Mishima's 50-50s. And this is something my fellow Mishima players know very well in these ranks, is that what they do is that they don't give you space. You need a little space to work with to set up the vortex. So what they do, and this is including the Nina players in those ranks, they get right up to your face like this, and then they start doing this. Doing those very, very strong strings that put the pressure on you. Can you counter this? Because if not, I have strings that end in +1 on block, you know, and I keep it up. You know, so that is how beginner and intermediate Mishimas, their vortex is countered. In the face, like this, by everyone else, and up to the Kazuya to find, you know, panic buttons. Where's the duck? Where's the step? And then I'll knock you down, and then you will engage the vortex. But is the vortex strong when it gets started in those ranks? Absolutely, because people don't step it. So, my opinion. Or it's easy to do that versus someone who spams that string 50 times per round. But are you telling me if I played you with my Nina and I used that sparingly, that you would be able to identify that string, sidestep it, and launch me every time. I don't think so.
Wait, so you're saying if I use this highly telegraphed move that comes out in 3 whole ass kicks all the time, I'll get punished for sure, but if I don't, then I won't? Like, what's the problem here, officer? I don't understand. If you aren't spamming, the string becomes stronger? Well, golly, I guess Nina is a better character when you aren't spamming, huh? Why do you have... If you...
And of course, he's correct here, but I think it's just a little misunderstanding here where he says, if you've spammed the same string over and over, it's weaker. And of course, this is correct. But what I was going for was more rather that string is very hard to counter. You have to step. And what he calls a highly telegraphed string with those 3 kicks, to me, it's not highly telegraphed. It's kind of fast, to be honest. It's low, high, mid, and you kind of have to anticipate it. And it actually has 4 variations. Down 3, 4 on its own, not adding the last hit, and down forward 3, 2 into a mid launcher, down forward 3, down 4 into a low kick, and then there's the one we're talking about, down forward 3, 4, 3. But what my point was that it's very hard to counter. Doing that step into launch on the last hit, that's reserved for high level play. Beginner and intermediate, it's just too hard for them, in my opinion. And what I'm referring to is people using that string and many other strings, you know, like the can opener, like down forward 3, 4, 4. So that was more so my point. But obviously, like he says, if you're doing down 3, 4, 3 all the time, only that, it's going to be very easy. Well, I mean, still not very easy, but it's going to be easier to counter.
Aren't spamming, the string becomes stronger? Well, golly, I guess Nina is a better character when you aren't spamming, huh? Why do you have an issue with this? She's not the only character in the game with annoying strings. Just look at Josie's entire design. Actually, yo, don't look at Josie. She's kind of really self-conscious about that. Thanks.
Oh, honestly, when you say everyone has something like this and hard to counter strings, like, I don't agree. With Brian, simply hold back. There's nothing you can do. With Lee, hold back, pretty much. This is my only point. Like, when people say, oh, she's... And this is where it started, you know. Nina is one of the hardest characters in the game. And I'm like, I don't understand her. She's harder than average, but she has such an easy time in beginner and intermediate, for example. And it becomes harder, increasingly harder in high-level play and very hard in professional play. But if I take a character like Lee, I would say at every single level of play, he's very difficult. It's like, I can't say you ever have an easy time with that character. So that's all I'm saying. And when you say every character has stuff like this, how many characters have a very fast low, high, mid string that ends in +1 on block? Or something like the can opener. I'm sorry, I'm struggling a little bit. Sure, there are a couple of other examples, but I honestly wouldn't even put Josie in this example. She doesn't have a tornado like that Nina can create with those very annoying strings that mix high, mid, and low, and pretty chunky lows at that. Only trick is to low parrying the second hit. Just when you see the can opener that's lightning fast, just low parry the second hit. Yeah.
The main man then proceeds to talk about can opener, and yeah, it's a scrub killer move and it's really hard to beat. Ha, psych, you thought. Fuck out of here. But nah, seriously, let's be real here. Every character in the game has some shit like this.
Okay, psych. This guy countered it. Hey, this guy did it though. Yeah, it's very hard to low parry that on reaction. And the fact that this guy does it, who is a Raijin Armor King, and this is Tractor, a guy I've played many times. He has very, very high ranks. He doesn't main Armor King. He plays a lot of characters. Just overall an excellent player. Again, what I was talking about was beginner and intermediate.
But nah, seriously, let's be real here. Every character in the game has some shit like.
And I don't like the term scrub killer either.
And by that, I mean a move that requires a specific response with specific timing. Whether it's Law's Junkyard Kick, Leo's 1-2-4, or whatever the fuck this is. They can all be parried, beaten, or...
The thing with Junkyard, though, is that you can just hold back. Just hold back. It doesn't... You know, by just holding back, you have a response that's pretty okay. But if you just hold back on Can Opener, it's almost Hell Sweep damage. And you're still standing. You're not knocked down. And Nina can just keep up her pressure vortex. It's very different, in my opinion.
Chased? I don't know. My thing is, why does...
And for example, you know, you mentioned Kazuya previously. But that's not very... Sure, the 50-50 can be super annoying. But every single person out there understands that he's gonna come at me with either a mid or a low. The mid I block standing, and the low I crouch guard. Everyone understands what is going on. I would say with the can opener and stuff like that, a lot of people are a bit like, we don't really understand. And it's very intuitive, actually, when you block the Hell Sweep. Kazuya is staggered. And the game pretty much tells you, oh, look how vulnerable he is. You can launch him now. With Nina, when you block that low in the can opener, she just keeps going. On many of her strings, even the lows, she just keeps going. And this is where it becomes hard, because it's like you have to punish so quickly. You always have to do, as she just keeps going, you have to do these very quick duck while standing launch, step launch. You know, low parry, very quick responses, you know, that are timed very precisely. And that is the difference between high-level defense, one example, and, you know, in even intermediate, people understand that, oh, I either block mid or low on the Hell Sweep, forward, free, and if I block the Hell Sweep, oh, he's staggered, I have quite some time to punish him. It's a little bit more intuitive, I would say, how to defend there.
Does he care what Nina has? After a bit of practice, you can actually parry this on reaction. It's ridiculously easy, like a lot easier than he...
Wow, did he just say that?
After a bit of practice, you can actually parry this on reaction. It's ridiculously beaten or chased? I don't know. My thing is, why does he care what Nina has? After a bit of practice, you can actually parry this on reaction. It's ridiculously easy, like a lot easier than you think.
It is ridiculously easy to low parry can opener on reaction. I feel like I don't even have to make a counter argument here, because I think it's just so... On what planet are you? I would say something that's easy is, for example, or ridiculously easy, is inputting a throw in Tekken 1+3. Like, if you want to really be real about this, ridiculously easy, saying that this is ridiculously easy, you know, identifying this very fast string, like from the first hit, and like doing the low parry, it's like, that's very, very hard, and something you see high-level players do. You do not see that in beginner and intermediate, unless the opponent is doing only can opener all the time. Maybe baby in intermediate, but no, that's stretching it, in my opinion. If we're to keep it real.
Since every character has some weird...
And note that I've always said with Nina, at high level play, you'll counter this. And this is where I think this guy lives, you know. It's like people still don't seem to understand my argument. All I said was Nina's strings are super abusable and hard to counter in beginner intermediate, making her a very easy rushdown character, no execution needed. In high level play, she's hard and quite weak. But you guys seem to only think about high level. Only high level.
Cheap shit that gets beaten by having fundamentals and knowledge. Who cares? That's how every fighting game works. You find the solution to the problem and you deal with it. You don't complain about it and blame the game.
You know what? Just find the solution to the problem and never complain about anything. Now, I'm not comparing Nina's strings to back 1-4. This was obnoxiously broken and done. But all I'm saying is you shouldn't shit on people who complain about stuff. And you don't do that, get good. You know, all I'm advocating for is maybe being a little bit more realistic, you know. It's like where I have a student of mine, you know, plays Gigas. and who is in, or a Lars player, you know, and he's playing ranked battle and he's in green ranks and he's getting stomped by Ninas. They're just doing these strings. They have no defense whatsoever. He's much more skilled when it comes to defense and fundamentals, but he's getting ravaged by these strings. And then he tells me, so I play Lars, who's considered an easy character. You know, he's considered an easy character. And I hear him getting blown up by a Nina, and all I hear is that she's the most difficult character in the game. Well, what's up with this? What's up with this, main man? And I have to explain to him that, like, well, all those guys think about is the professional level. Nothing else exists to them. But the reality of Tekken is much more complicated than that. And that is why I have always divided the player levels into their own categories, their own worlds. So that's all I'm saying. And you shouldn't shit on people who complain about stuff like this, because what I say to my student is, yeah, it's very frustrating, she's very cheesy, it's very hard to counter that stuff, and he's gonna get away with that shit, but eventually he's gonna plateau. But that shit is gonna carry him super far with no fundamentals. But you, sir, you're working with the fundamentals, and eventually, just give it months. It's gonna take a long time, but give it a few months or even a year and you'll be able to counter that guy. I promise you. But of course it's bullshit. It is bullshit. And people say I'm an elitist. This is what... People say I am an elitist when I feel like I'm the fucking only one who talks about beginner and intermediate players. Everyone else is just like, how is the game at high level and professional level?
Main Man then goes on to complain that everybody only cares about high level player balance. Well, should we balance the game around low levels of play? That sounds like a surefire way of dumbing down a title and making it so that nobody really wants to play it. Like, hear me out for a second. There are a lot of things that the main man could have said in this regard that make a lot of sense. Like, Tekken does...
By the way, I've never said anything should be rebalanced. Maybe, you know, stuff like the back 1-4, which didn't hurt professional level of play. But you know what? It was still removed because it hurt everyone else so much. So you gotta look at the entire picture. Even Bandai Namco seems to look at the entire picture. Eddie didn't win any tournaments. He was not seen as super strong, but at beginner, intermediate, and even high level, he destroyed the game with one string. So this is the importance of looking at all levels. But of course, Nina is fine. She could even be buffed for all I care.
Absolutely fucking nothing to teach people how to play it. There is no tutorial in this game that explains the in-depth mechanics of it. The developers do absolutely nothing to communicate to the community about how or why they decide things. They never listen to outcry. And the online marketing team doesn't promote the community members that actually do want to create resources for new players. Like, they could just do that thing where League does and put some community spotlight shit in the corner of the main menu or something. Nobody wants to see a year-old season pass for a game that they've had the season pass for months now. But instead of suggesting genuine fixes to genuine problems that players face that aren't just wham mechanics, Main Man says, hey, this move requires a high level of defense to deal with, but it shouldn't be that way because it's easy to use, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Let me just point out the holes in his logic considering the character that he mains. I'm not trying to flame Main Man, but how in the hell do you main Kazuya, I'ma make you guess until you second guess your entire existence Mishima, and not see the hypocrisy in your statement? You need a timed sidestep to beat a hell sweep, but you could get caught out by them realigning with another crouch dash. Furthermore, since you can't step in time on wake up, you're forced to guess. Even Korean players don't have an exact answer for beating Kazuya Oki every time, but that's
But of course, top Koreans don't have an exact answer how to beat that mix-up, because it's a very strong fundamental mix-up. And you want to be unpredictable and mix it up. And again, I touched upon this, I talked about this earlier, how of course the vortex is annoying. I wouldn't say anything else, you know, and I explained that in my Kazuya counter video. But I'm just saying, people kind of understand how to work this. You know, they understand, it's a mid or a low. If I block the low, I get a launch. But with Nina, I would say it's just not that is as intuitive. You know, on reaction, do the low parry on the can opener. I'm down 3-4-3. Sidestep the last hit and launch him. It's like that's very difficult stuff to do. Whereas everyone kind of understands how to block a low and then do a launcher. And everyone for sure understands what it's like to go into someone's face and do this. This is what's hard to counter in Tekken, when a character is doing this in your face. Mishimas don't do that. And the vortex is annoying, but he needs space to set that up. He can't do that while you're doing this. This is what beginner and intermediates understand. Go to the Mishima's face, don't let him do his vortex. So I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't really compare these characters. They're very different from one another. Even if in your case it seems like you feel it's a very democratic thing to say that everyone's the same, everyone is equally cheesy, and you might sound wise and enlightened when you say that, and it sounds beautiful, everyone's the same. But evidently they are not. Some characters are cheesier and get away with more than others, and I feel like I explained this with Noctis, Katarina, but there are plenty of examples, and Geese, kind of cheesy character, to be honest.
It's okay in your book? Why? Should we nerf Hell Sweep? It's not hard to do, and it's kind of hard to defend against, and in green ranks it's fucking ridiculously overpowered because those players don't even know how to punish it properly. But obviously not.
Most Mishima players plateau in green ranks for 1,000,000 years. I did so myself in Tag 2, because I got blown up by Lily, Asuka, Eddie, Xiaoyu, you name it. Because what did all of those characters understand? Get in my face, do this. And when I tried to apply Hell Sweeps, they just hop kick, and I ran into the hop kicks all the time. Like, So I'm not gonna sit here and say that, oh, Kazuya, it's so difficult, and jerk off. But it is not easy to play beginner and intermediate ranks with Kazuya. It's you're gonna need a lot of knowledge, on all of the cast, because you have such weak pressure. You always pretty much have them pressuring you, and it's up to you to see where's the hole where I can put my knockdown into a vortex. So I think you're doing a little bit too much of like everyone's the same, because they're not.
Because that would be fucking dumb and it would gut the character. But because Nina does it in a super telegraph string that almost nobody uses after like red ranks,
that string is not super telegraphed. It has 4 variations, and again, it's quite fast. I don't think you would, if I use it, quite well, I don't think you would be able to step launch me every time.
Somehow bad game design? Why? Why?
When the opponent like this. I've never said it's bad game design. This is like Horang Flamingo bullshit. So I'm like, can we just say that she's not easy? I like the lip sync. She's not hard. She's not average difficulty. She's harder than the average character. But do we really have to call her very hard? No, we don't have to do that. We don't have to lie to ourselves. Even if it feels good to imagine that, oh, my character is super hard. Makes me hard. Yeah, but it's still only in your imagination.
Besides her assets, Nina doesn't actually have that much going for her in terms of general gameplay. Despite looking like a dominatrix, her punishment is ironically subpar. Because she doesn't get much until frame 14, frame 15 is her launch, which is average as hell, with below average range because of her tiny porn star hands. Her mid-range game doesn't really exist outside of using movement to create opportunities to get in, and hoping that the opponent is too fixated on her jiggle physics and hasn't figured out her only ranged approaches are either highly linear or heavily punishable.
It's funny because I've
so
said
her defense is average at best, and her keep out is ass because of its range. Without her strings or sidestep 1 pressure, Nina
Up forward 1 is pretty good keep out well. But yeah, it has range.
It would easily be one of the worst characters in the game. At high levels of play where players know the matchups, Nina takes an incredible amount of fundamentals and creativity to use effectively. That doesn't even cover her combo complexity with sidestep 1 cancels into other moves or while standing 1 loops. Nina isn't easy when your opponent knows what they're doing and when you want to maximize the character.
Nina isn't easy when the opponent knows what they're doing, but this is what I've always said, sir. Of course. I've always said this.
But I guess when you play against like-minded subscribers who think characters like Nina are cheap and
Like-minded subscribers, just say scrub. I know that's what you want to say. Subscriber scrubs.
Maximize the character. But I guess when you play against like-minded subscribers who think characters like Nina are cheap and spammy, finding someone that actually knows what they're doing must be extremely rare. All in all, the main man is basically claiming that Nina has a really high payout ratio in proportion to the effort that she has to put in terms of steamrolling new players. But you could say that about literally any character in any fighting game ever. Like,
no, you can't. You really can't. There are differences here. Again, I'm just gonna say Lee, Brian, Kazuya, but there are way more examples. I would say that her strings are, as you're the guy who said it's ridiculously easy to low parry can opener on reaction. So I mean, I think you and I are in like different worlds here, and I'm just, what I'm trying to express to you and a lot of Nina mains, where you guys look at only high level, is that it just isn't easy to counter these strings. To do a low parry on reaction on can opener, most people can't do this. And as I said before, her down 3-4-3 +1 on the last hit on block. How many characters can pressure like this and have pressure that's so hard to counter? Come on, man. Can you really say that about every character? Gigas? I mean, come on, man. Of course there's a difference. Nina players are carried by those strings very, very far. I think even you said red ranks. Come on. Katarina players are carried very far. Noctis players, I got carried by Noctis super far to Tekken God Prime. There are differences, dude. Come on, not every character has such abusable tools.
Ever.
At beginner and intermediate. And of course I agree with you, and I've said it all the time, but at high level you can't abuse those strings. Always said that.
Are you telling me that a new player is going to do well against Law, against Bears, against Kazuya, or anybody with a knockdown low or a string they haven't seen before? New players and players without knowledge to deal with a problem will get bodied regardless of the character their opponent is playing or the character that they are playing. That's the nature of...
Yeah, I'm just saying, Nina gets a lot further with her cheese and no skill than most other characters. It's like Noctis. You know, the reward you get for playing that character, you have this much skill, this is your reward. With Lee, you have this much skill, this is your reward. Do you understand? Or Katarina. You know, Forcing gets Katarina to yellow ranks in 3 days. And then he tries Hwoarang and he can't get out of light blue ranks. And Hwoarang has some fucking spam, but you need to know a little bit more there. So every character is not the same. Some characters, like Asuka even, get carried very far with very little skill and fundamentals. And with some characters, it's the complete opposite.
Of Tekken. That's the nature of fighting games on the whole. We shouldn't encourage people to talk down on players who are bodying them because of their character choice, but instead teach them how to gain the tools to deal with these problems and invite them to join us into the realm of being actually decent fighting game players who learn.
When I shit on Lei, for example, and Xiaoyu, I do it in a very troll fashion. I would never say, as I said to all of my subscribers and people who come to my stream, like, play the character that you feel is the most fun. And yeah, I hate Alyssa. I really hate the character. I can't stand the way she looks, the way she sounds, the way she plays. But if you love Alyssa, play Alyssa. Don't give a fuck about my opinion, you know. But if you love Alyssa, that's all that counts, you know. I want you to have fun with the game. But yes, I hate Alyssa. But you shouldn't take that personally, because I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a character, a couple of pixels.
And improve. Or just, you know, keep complaining and dodging Nina players. Who cares, right?
Perfect. So again, I feel like we're talking about different things. Nina, in my opinion, her strings are very hard to counter. In this guy's mind, it's ridiculously easy. But then he kind of echoes what I said, that strong players are going to counter you immediately. And it's like, well, I've never said anything other than that. That's exactly what I've been saying. I'm just saying Nina is going to carry you very far with very little skill. Beginner and intermediate. And for that reason, you cannot call Nina one of the hardest characters in the game, because we have characters like Lee where it's just that much harder at every level of play. So that's all I said. And Nina is very difficult at high level play, but that cannot erase the fact that in every other level of play, beginner and intermediate, she's very easy. No, that's all I was trying to say. That's all I was trying to say. And I feel like I didn't get a fantastic counter argument here. Even though he had some points. But he really, I guess that's it. Nice, really nice edit. It really has some funny moments, and he presents his opinion in a very clear way. So I'm gonna link the original video in the comment section. Check this guy out, you know, if you like his stuff. Subscribe, and maybe we'll get another Tekken content creator. Yeah, I like his voice, you know, it's very clear, lovely tone. So that's gonna be it for this video. No matter whose opinion you like, you know, I'm just glad we have a debate in the community, because stuff like this is discussed far too seldom, to be honest. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a nice day. Take care.